Hey guys, Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. How y'all doing? I'm super excited. I'm gonna record this video, chat some raid with you guys, and then I'm gonna go rent a tiny house. Renting a tiny house for the weekend with my son, just us in the middle of the wilderness in New Hampshire. It should be a great time. I'll try to remember to take pictures to share with you guys. Any of you guys ever do that? I've seen it on I don't know, TV, like HG Home Garden Network or whatever it is, but I haven't actually done it. So really excited there. I think secretly deep down, I really envy and want to live a minimalistic life, even though I don't actually live a minimalistic life at all. But in my head, something in me just really, it appeals to me, the idea of living in a house with like next to nothing. It seems like simplicity oftentimes leads to a positive mental state, but I don't know because I haven't tried, but I kind of want to. Any of you guys out there, are any of you guys minimalist or seen like the Netflix doc on it? Go ahead and let me know, guys. Welcome to the channel. We're going to talk some raid today. I really tried to narrow down the biggest advice that if I could go back in time and give it to myself or give it to any new players or even players who have been out there. I think this, honestly, if you've been playing for years, some of this advice might resonate with you and you might already kind of know it intuitively, but sometimes just to be reminded is a really good thing. So I have a quick, not even a disclaimer, but a bonus piece of advice, if you will, to start out this video. And that is, I say this, a couple times a year on the channel, I think it's important to repeat it because I know there are new players playing all the time in Raid Shadow Legends. And that is, guys, you don't have to, this is not one of the tips, but you don't have to spend money on this game, man.
Hey, Jake.
I didn't see you there.
I almost feel like obligated to say this as somebody who does spend money and does do shard opening videos and et cetera. But like, listen, there's no winning in Raid Shadow Legends, right? If you want to spend a little bit of money, go for it, man. If you want to spend for your entertainment or woman, sorry, there's 7% of you out there are lovely females. I appreciate you.
The world still is the same.
But seriously, guys, I mean, you don't have to, there's no winning in Raid Shadow Legends. There's none, there's no end game. The joke's on you if you keep spending money that you don't have on this game. They give you a lot of free stuff in this game. You can still get full enjoyment out of this game without spending money. And hey, if you want to, that's cool, but don't spend money on Raid Shadow Legends, on fake pixels that you don't have or that you can't afford, okay? Really hope that resonates with some people out there. It's not worth it. Put yourself on a budget at the very least of whatever makes sense for you. Hey, $10 a month, $100 a month, $0 a month, whatever it is, put yourself on a budget because otherwise the gacha mechanics, right? The casino mechanics of this game, it's going to lead you to, okay, oh, this is a good deal for $50, 50 pounds, 50 euros, wherever you are, right? This is a good deal. I can afford it. And the next day you're like, I can't pass this up for 20 euros. And then the next day you're like, it's only...
Those are my lucky numbers.
And then every day you catch yourself without even realizing, without even recognizing, you're spending more than you want to in a mobile game, to be real, okay? So that's the first kind of disclaimer. I could just make it 4 tips, right? Because that's probably the biggest one that I can share with you guys. But it's important to always say that, at least to me. All right, the next tip, guys, is going to be about, and these are like the 3 game tips, not just spending money tips, right? And the biggest one for me is, especially if I could go back in time, it's being so ultra cautious and careful on who you're investing in. Look, you don't have to always max out the best champions in the game, the highest ranked champions on tier lists, because part of the fun of this game is experimenting with different champions, off-meta teams, off-meta comps. That can be extremely fun, but you still have to be incredibly thoughtful on who you're upgrading in terms of champions and not spreading yourself too thin because resources are super scarce and super expensive in this game. It all leads back to money, doesn't it, guys?
I mean, what do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's all this money.
So what I want you guys to do is think about the 4 main factors. It used to be 3 and I've added in a 4th in terms of thinking about the next champion that you want to invest in and not spreading yourself too thin. So, number 1 is don't spread yourself too thin, right? Try to focus on 1 or 2 champions at a time that you're upgrading. Otherwise, you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're not going to make the same amount of progress if you spread yourself too thin, even if you are spending money on this game. So what are the factors that we're looking at when we're upgrading champions in this game? End game viability. I want a champion that's going to last me a little while, right? Even if I'm investing in a rare champion, which is a great idea because there's a lot of end game viable rares, especially with secret rooms in this game. game. But I want to be very, very cautious, very careful of not, again, investing in a mediocre epic champion, for example, or legendary champion that I can get the same value out of in a rare that already does great for me, okay? So do not invest for a champion that you think is going to be a very moderate upgrade only in the short term, in the early game or the mid game of Raid Shadow Legends. That is tip number 1. This team's going to be tough. I'm not sure if I'm going to beat him in the background. Hopefully you enjoy a little arena gameplay, a little platinum in the background here. And it's going to be Blood Twins growing on me, man. I might make a separate video on that. Anyway, number 2 is versatility. I want to upgrade a champion that I can use everywhere in this game, and you guys should too, or at least in many areas as possible, because when you use your hard-earned resources, man, you want it to pay dividends, obviously, and you want it to be a champion you can use in multiple areas, unless you're already good and you're kind of already in the end game and you already have balanced teams everywhere, then obviously that would be kind of moot. The third factor, is value over replacement. Even if it's a great champion, but it's only going to be a very, very, very iffy upgrade on one area of one team or a couple teams, or you're just not sure, hey, is this champion even better? Let's just say that I'm rocking an Ithwi Blood Twin as my nuker, which I am right now in this video. And then I get, Constantine the Dayborn. Arguably not that big of an upgrade, maybe not even an upgrade at all. Do not upgrade champions. They're only a borderline. Is this even better than the champion that I already have in this role, right? Focus on someone that can help you in other areas instead. And this still pertains to even endgame players, right? Like, don't upgrade a champion that you're like, I don't even know where I'm going to use the champion. Upgrade a champion that you can use on your second Hydra team as a new DPS or whatever it may be, right? So, and the fourth factor that we added on now is the rarity. And it's surprisingly, some of you might not be as surprised, but for me, I'm actually putting a greater emphasis on upgrading champions that are of a lower rarity. So when in doubt, let's just say I'm really close between two epic champions, right? Or between the legendary and the epic champion. I don't know who I want to go for next, who I want to start farming food for, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go for the epic, right? Same thing with epics and rares. I'm going to go for the rare because they're just so much less resources you have to worry about. Legendary skill tomes are so freaking expensive and or difficult to get in this game. Don't even get me started. I'm not even going to go there today, but it's a rant for another video, which I'm sure I'll give to you guys soon. But seriously, make sure that you guys are thoughtful, again, about rarities, because legendary skill tomes, epic skill tomes, and rare skill tomes, they're all hard to get, but legendaries are very difficult to get. It's going to cost you more potions to ascend them. Everything's going to be more expensive, so keep that in mind. Always go towards, again, when things are a 50-50 coin flip, goes towards the lesser rarities. So that's tip number 1, guys, is who to upgrade next. Think about champions and thinking about, valuing your resources, essentially, okay? Tip number 2, right? The most essential tip number 2 is going to be artifact management. It's obvious, but it's so important, right? And I think rather than going through all my artifacts and talking about what I like and what I don't like, I have a lot of videos doing that. I think it's just the mentality, again, getting yourself in the right mentality when it comes to artifacts in this game. You do not want to be keeping artifacts that you think are like really borderline. When in doubt, I would sell artifacts when in doubt, because if I look back, I've dealt with this many times in my account. I'm sure you longtime vets have dealt with this too. But you look back at old artifacts and you think to yourself, dude, why did I even keep this? Or even worse, why did I level this up? You ever see a level 16 artifact somewhere in your collection and you're like, dude, this sucks. Like, what was I thinking? I thought I knew a lot about the game. What was I thinking upgrading this artifact? I've done it, so you guys must have done it too. And that just shows me not being thoughtful about, okay, who's actually, this is what you should think, who's actually going to wear this artifact? What type of champion? Because, again, it's a mentality, right? Sometimes when we get an artifact, we talk ourselves into, you know what? I think this is a decent artifact. I could probably use it on somebody, right? But then when you're actually like, it's a middle of the road artifact, right? But I could probably use it somewhere. But then when you're actually upgrading a champion, how many times do you go to equip a champion, build a champion with artifacts? How many times do you go with that champion and go, yeah, I'm going to look for some mediocre artifacts to put on them? If you're anything like me, like never. I'm always looking for good artifacts, right? I'm always looking for good ones. So yeah, there's something to be said about like hand-me-down artifacts on champions that you're just going to use for faction wars or something like that. There are exceptions to this rule, but to me, I've learned over time that I'm basically just looking for good artifacts, right? That means I'm collecting artifacts that make sense regarding their sets, So like, for example, on Savage artifacts, who's going to be wearing a Savage artifact? It's going to be a nuker, right? So I'm going to want crit rate as a substat like 9 times out of 10. So keeping an eye out for crit rate on substats on Savage gear. How about a shield set? What do I want for substats? I want HP percentage, right? Because I want a lot of HP on my shield wearer or my bolster wearer. So if I get an artifact that doesn't have any speed on it, because speed's king everywhere, right? For the most part, Stone Skin being an exception, right? But you know, I'm probably not keeping it if it doesn't have speed and HP on it, or at least one of the two in a shield set, for example, right? And you can say that about every set, right? An attack set, for example, offense set, right? Attack percentage. Well, if I'm not getting any crit rate, any crit damage, anything that I could use on attack percentage champion, any accuracy if I'm going to put it on a bomber, you know, maybe not the best example, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? Every artifact set, immunity gear. Who's going to be wearing immunity? Probably somebody who's going to be debuffing the enemy team, someone who's going to be cleansing my team. So we're probably going to want speed on those substats, right? So like, again, just kind of thinking through here. Perception, it's giving me accuracy, so I'm probably going to want accuracy and speed as substats, because think about it, on a debuffer, you want them going faster than the rest of your team, usually, right? And you want them to have more accuracy. So speed and accuracy are really important on those artifacts. Crit damage, I could just go through all the artifacts, right? Crit damage, who's going to be wearing it? Well, probably a nuker. So I'm probably going to want crit rate and maybe crit damage on substats on crit damage artifacts. Stone Skin, who's going to be wearing that? Probably somebody on a go second team. So maybe speed's not as important, but I probably want some resistance on there. I want some defense on there. And of course, there's different types of champions, so other substats are valuable. But think through your artifacts and hold yourself to a certain threshold of what you're comfortable with in terms of, okay, I'm going to set myself that I will not keep this junk, you know what I'm saying? Another example, Cruel set, right? It gives you attack percentage, it gives you ignore defense. What do I want with a defense percentage gauntlets on a Cruel set? For Cruel sets, 99% of the time, I'm gonna have that on a nuker, right? Even if it's a defense-based nuker, I'm probably going to have crit damage on the gauntlets, right? Because it's Cruel. We're ignoring defense, and we're getting attack percentage. Not going to help me on a defensive-based champion. So I'm probably not keeping a defensive percentage gauntlets. But again, a massive exception that I want to point out here, that I have to point out here to you guys too. I say all that, but I should also say there is an argument, and it's an important note too, to be said about, sure, you can still use an artifact that's not a part of a set. So if you get an amazing artifact, let's say you get an attack percentage immortal piece or something like that with crit rate and accuracy and speed and crit damage,
And, of course,
That will never happen.
sure, I'm still going to keep an amazing artifact, no matter what set it's from. But again, just be thoughtful about artifact management, right? Be thoughtful about who's going to be wearing anything that you use, right? So I think I've made my point there. All right, the third thing, guys, and again, I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but it's dungeon strategy and wave strategy, like any wave that we're clearing in Doom Tower, in dungeons. So it's really a two-pronged piece of advice for you guys. Number one is, and I've said this so many times before, and I feel like it's intuitive for most of you, so I'll be quick on it, but the power of A1 cycling is so freaking valuable in this game. Basically meaning that, hey, before I'm about done with a dungeon wave, like wave 2 or wave 3, when there's only 1 or 2 mobs left alive, I'm just going to use my A1, so I refresh my cooldown, so I go fresh into a boss battle. That ability, along with stun sets, bolster sets, shield sets on AoEs, like taking advantage of that is going to be so valuable to you. You're going to be able to clear so much more content just by thinking strategically of, hey, I don't have the brute force to get through any of these waves or to get through this boss. I need to use every tool at my disposal, excuse me. So again, A1 cycling. That way I get fresh cooldowns on all abilities when I go into the next wave. It's going to help you out tremendously. And then again, utilizing those shield sets, those bolster sets, just in case you take a big hit in the beginning, you can keep people alive. So just again, think about the key components of a team. You want your debuffer, you want your control, you want a lot of control if the dungeon is difficult, right? And then think about, again, how you can, cleansers, think about what makes sense for you in the dungeon, and then take advantage of all your artifacts. Keep in mind, artifacts don't require accuracy either, so it's nice. You can pick up a fearsome presence. I have a whole video on the value of shield and stun teams, and then a whole video on A1 cycling as well. I'll try to link one of those for you guys in the comments below. I'm going to give up on this battle. I probably would have lost anyway. You never know, though. Here, where are we right now? We're 120 in the world here on a Sunday. Who knows? Maybe I'll stay up till 3 or 4 a.m. to try to finish. I probably won't. But anyway, guys, the last thing about dungeons, which is really important, is the levels, right? And especially this pertains to newer players, like the last 6 months. If you downloaded the game, you might not be aware. Heck, some even old-time players might not be aware. But there's key levels that you want to focus on in every single dungeon as well. And this is going to optimize your energy. And it's rather intuitive, but look at this. I can get 3 to 5 star artifacts at stage 9, but at stage 10, boom, it goes up to 4 or 5 star artifacts for the same amount of energy. That's way better to farm there, providing, and this is important, providing I can clear the level 100% of the time. Otherwise, I'm throwing away energy. You never want to throw away energy, gems, or silver in this game, right?
Maybe I should do that myself.
Kind of goes to all the tips that we're talking about in today's video. But there's some key levels of dungeons, right? So the first level, still 14 energy costs that I can farm 6 star artifacts. And that's where the game really opens up for you. And it's the same level in every dungeon. Is stage 13, okay? So stage 13 is really pivotal. It's incredibly important for you guys to get here. That way you can start farming 6 star gear, legendary. It's going to give you the good rarity still, albeit at a lower percentage, but you're still going to have a chance of getting those, right? So that and taking advantage of the forge perception gear, using your, basically being energy efficient. And I want to talk about energy efficiency too. It's all kind of wrapped up into using your energy wisely. So let's cover the basics. Number 1 is stage 13 is super important. Stage 16 is when you'll no longer get potions or mystery shards. So stage 16 is going to be like your second big cliff or threshold that you want to clear. That's going to give you more access to ancient shards and better artifacts versus just mystery shards. So stage 13 and stage 16, put a flag in that for you guys. The other thing is energy optimization. So when we talk about what are we going to be doing, there's so many things to do in this freaking game, which is awesome and overwhelming at the same time. It's like a full-time job. But it's really important that we prioritize things that don't cost energy in this game, because we get it. It's free. It replenishes, and generally speaking, it's good rewards, and it ties back to the forge. So using your arena tokens as much as you can. I don't expect you guys to use all 24 or 29 if you're buying your, your shop items, your market items. It gives you 5 free tokens from the daily quest. Either way, guys, using these is really wise. You're going to be upgrading your Great Hall. You're going to be giving yourself a stat boost based on your arena tier, and you're going to be farming valuable material to forge up more perception gear, which is the best set in the game, in my opinion. Perception gear in the forge. The other thing, and it ties to perception gear as well, is it helps being efficient on your energy if, again, you use your faction war keys, right? Faction war keys don't cost you anything. They replenish daily, and you're getting glyphs and valuable forge material. So even if you only have 1 or 2 champions of the faction, still use your faction keys. Even if you're only farming stage 5, stage 4, still use your keys. Prioritize this. It doesn't cost you any energy like 99% of the stuff in this game does. And then the other big one is do your clan boss. Focus on clan boss. Make that a key priority for you and your account, because the only reliable way to farm up the most scarce resources in this game, legendary skill tomes, sacred shards, and void shards, right? It's like the only way to get that stuff. You can get, and this is probably sad to say, but you can get, just by farming Demon Lord, up to $50 value a day.
You serious?
I mean, it doesn't happen every single day. That's if you get, like 2 sacred shards or whatever. But like if you use your battles, you can get anywhere from $5, usually even more than that, to $50 every day. You have the opportunity of getting that in terms of what it would cost you to buy those resources. So think about that compounding every day, every week, every month, every year. That really adds up. So finding a clan that's on the same level as you in terms of where to attack in clan boss, and prioritizing your clan boss team to try to eventually get to a point where you can at least 2 key Ultra Nightmare is going to be incredibly valuable to everybody. I would put that as a main priority. Check out deadwoodjedi.com. Check out his YouTube channel. He has so many clan boss comps. I'm sure you can find something that will work for you guys. There you go, guys. Those are my tips for you. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.